Welcome back, Warrensburg-Latham. We are here for yet another wonderful episode of our Mental Health and Wellness series. We have Mrs. Janelle McCollum back with us again today. And for this episode, we're going to be talking about acceptance. And when we're kind of talking about acceptance, we're talking about diverse groups, people with different backgrounds, different skills, different things that they struggle with, different things that some people may have a hard time accepting. And so we're going to be focusing on why it's important that we're accepting of people and ways that we can kind of deal with that if you're struggling with some of that yourself. So, Mrs. McCollum, when we're thinking about people or situations that may need some grace or some acceptance, what comes to your mind?
Well, there's obviously the hot topic of race and racial differences, because that's something that we're dealing with in our country overall. But that's not the only reason that somebody might not feel accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember back when I was in junior high, my skin was darker than everybody else. I got made fun of for that. But that's not the only reason that I didn't feel accepted.
Right.
I also didn't feel accepted because I was different. My values, my beliefs were different. Things were different in my world compared to everybody else's world.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be things that different people deal with. I have family members who deal with autism. I have family members who deal with anxiety. There are so many ways that you can feel unaccepted.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing is you as a student need to be kind.
Absolutely.
Be accepting of all those around you, no matter what their difference is.
Right. So whether your peers may look different, they may talk different, they may date someone different than you would choose. That's really got nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. And so to judge or to treat somebody unfairly because they like something different than you is really not fair. Now, where you were talking earlier about how you were judged because of the color of your skin,
mm-hmm.
and is that something that you got to choose when you were born?
No,
it wasn't.
No.
And so when I worked in the elementary school, one of the things that when I was teaching character education to 5-year-olds was that we shouldn't judge people on things that they don't
Right.
have a choice or control over.
No.
So if someone is born with a color of skin that's different than yours,
Mm-hmm.
or a religion that's different than yours,
Right.
or a culture that's different than yours, it's not fair to treat those people differently or unfairly simply because it's different.
Right.
Now, some of the things that we do have control over and that we could judge someone by would be what? Give me an example of something like that.
Honesty,
Mm-hmm.
character, things like that. I think too, not just color or eye color or things like that you were born with, but sometimes people are born with disabilities. They're
Yeah.
born with differences that they have no control over that. Somebody might have ADHD. That's a chemical imbalance.
Right.
There's nothing they can do to fix that.
And I don't think anyone would choose to be born or to have that struggle if they had the option,
No. So you have to, you just have to be accepting because everybody's different.
And, for some kids, when we're talking about, or even adults, when we're talking about, things that they can't control, sometimes people have differences that you can't see if
Right.
I'm looking at them. So
Right.
if I'm looking at Mrs. McCollum, I might not know that she struggles with X, Y, or Z because we don't come with labels attached
Right.
to our heads. So some kids may be struggling with their sexual orientation. That's not something, if you look at them from the outside, you're going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
see and to know. So again, being kind and being accepting of people that are different from you is so important because you never know what someone's struggling
Right.
with underneath the
You
surface.
don't want to make comments about, certain sexual orientation, certain races, things like that. You don't want to make comments about any of that at any point in time because you don't know who's listening or who's dealing with that particular thing at that moment.
But what if people say, well, but I was brought up that way. I was brought up to think this.
Well, that would be something that's valid because I was brought up differently than maybe you were brought up.
Sure.
But, so that's a valid point. However, it all goes back to acceptance. I don't not like you because you were brought up differently than I was. Or, I don't not like you because you have green eyes and I have brown eyes. It doesn't work that way.
Yes, I always wanted curly hair and brown eyes when I was little, and I got neither. So that's the struggle of life. I would also say that in 2021, if we have different opinions or values in one another, we shouldn't immediately discount the other person simply because we have different values or opinions. I would think that in the age that we're in, I think that it's okay, and I think some people discount agreeing to disagree.
Right.
I like veggie pizza. That's what I like most. What do you like?
Ham and pineapple.
Okay, so see, we're never going to agree on that, but she can eat her pie, I can eat my pie, and we can both coexist and go on with life.
Exactly.
So we need to be accepting of people, whether they look different, they talk different, they sound different, they like different things. That is okay. And if you were maybe brought up to not like someone because of their differences, then maybe I challenge you to change the way that you think about that. Because what if someone were to judge you for something that you felt inherently you were right and just about and you couldn't control? So just to be aware of some of the things that we're taught doesn't always mean that it's right. And you have the power of changing the way that you think and your opinions on things.
Right.
So that's an important part of acceptance. So on the flip side of acceptance would be people who feel like I don't accept you and I'm going to make it a point to show you that I don't. What are some examples of things that people might do to show their disapproval?
So social media is huge. People put things out on social media all the time that are not appropriate.
Downright hurtful even
and
sometimes.
They're awful. And some kids feel so not accepted that they feel like they can't even live anymore because of things that are on social media. So don't put all your opinion out there and make it gospel.
Right, because it's not.
Because it's not. And we go back to just be kind. If it's not, my mom always used to tell me, if it's not kind, you can't say it.
Right.
So if it's not kind words coming out of your mouth, don't put it out there.
All right, so when thinking about acceptance, if you're someone that feels like you might be struggling with that, what do you think are some steps that you could take to work on your own self and your own acceptance of others?
So I actually am taking a class right now myself. One of the things that they talk about is that you need to reflect on what are your own biases. What are the things that you do that you don't even realize you maybe do? What are the things that you think about people just by the way they look or by the way they dress or, different things like that. Like, what are your own, evaluate those, look at those things and see, are there things that you could change? Another way would just be to interact with those people. When you interact with somebody, you're probably going to find more things in common than not. Wave at them, say hello, talk to the people in the hallway when you pass them, say hi.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt you to say hi.
It doesn't hurt you to say hi, but sometimes if you constantly or purposefully exclude people, that can be quite hurtful without even meaning or trying to be.
Right.
So I think sometimes we are just, and everyone's so caught up in their own heads that sometimes it's hard to kind of take that step back and think about, okay, how am I affecting other people without even realizing that I'm doing it?
Right.
I think that's probably good for today, guys. I think we've given you a lot of good food for thought in terms of accepting others and accepting yourselves. We hope that you're being good to yourselves and others, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.